Good evening and welcome to News Tonight, where we get you the biggest news and events through the day from across India and the world. I'm Tina Jha. Let's begin with the top stories of the day. CBI officer Devendra Kumar arrested, charged with making false accusations in support of bribery charges leveled by Special Director Rakesh Asthana against CBI chief. Rahul Gandhi won't be Prime Ministerial candidate for 2019, says senior Congress leader P. Chidambaram. Claims opposition parties will come together for grand alliance at opportune time. %60 rise in crorepati taxpayers, 80% increase in tax returns filed in the last 4 years. Central tax body says compared to 89,000 taxpayers in 2014-15, 1,40,000 disclosed 1 crore rupees per annum earnings in 2017-18. Eleven-member Election Commission team reviews poll preparations in Telangana. Chief Election Commissioner O.P. Rawat meets political parties in Hyderabad. Discussions with district electoral officials, police chief tomorrow. And National Human Rights Commission sends notice to Punjab government and Railway Board chairman on Amritsar tragedy. Seeks report within 4 weeks on how a train ran over 60 people watching the burning of a Dussehra effigy. The top story, the CBI on Monday arrested its Deputy Superintendent of Police Devendra Kumar in connection with bribery allegations involving its Special Director and Second-in-Command Rakesh Asthana. Devendra Kumar was the investigation officer in an IT raid involving meat exporter Moin Qureshi, accused in a 2014 money laundering case. Kumar was arrested on the allegations of forgery in recording the statement of another businessman, Satish Sana, who had alleged to have paid bribes to get relief in the Moin Qureshi case. It is alleged that a statement of Sana was purportedly recorded on the 26th of September 2018 by the investigating team headed by Asthana, but it emerged in the CBI probe that Sana was in Hyderabad on that particular day. The CBI has now alleged that Devendra Kumar had fabricated this statement to corroborate allegations made by Asthana against CBI Director Alok Verma. Asthana had complained against CBI Director Verma in August that he had taken bribe from Sana to give him relief in the matter. Senior Congress leader and former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram says the Congress has never officially declared Rahul Gandhi as its Prime Ministerial candidate for the 2019 general election. Speaking to a TV channel, Chidambaram insisted that the focus of the Congress was on removing the BJP government and replacing it with a progressive alternative. The former Union Minister said the Prime Ministerial post is not an issue for the Congress currently. He said the decision as to who will be the Prime Minister in case of an opposition alliance winning next year's Lok Sabha poll will be taken by its constituents. He further said that the Congress has never said the Prime Minister should be from the party. He said alliance parties will decide as to who will be the next Prime Minister. The Central Board of Direct Taxes released key statistics on income tax and direct taxes paid over the last 4 years. The policy-making body for the Income Tax Department reported that the number of taxpayers earning above 1 crore rupees per annum has increased to over 1.4 lakh in the country in the last 4 years. In 2014-15, this figure was only 88,649. In assessment year 2017-18, the figure turned out to be 1,40,139, which is a growth of about 60%. The taxpayers include corporates, firms, Hindu undivided families, among others. Further, the number of individual taxpayers disclosing incomes above 1 crore rupees per annum increased from 48,416 to 81,344 in the same period. Average income declared by salaried and non-salaried categories of taxpayers also increased over the past 3 years. 80% growth was seen in the number of returns filed in the last 4 financial years. Taxpayers have gone up from 3.79 crore in 2013-14 to 6.85 crore in 2017-18. CBDT Chairman Sushil Chandra said these numbers were the result of putting in a number of legislative, informative and enforcement efforts by the tax department in the last 4 years. A high-level team headed by Chief Election Commissioner O.P. Rawat is on a 3-day visit to Telangana. The 11-member team is in the poll-bound state to review election preparedness. Arriving in Hyderabad on Monday, the Election Commission officials held a meeting with the representatives of various political parties this evening to take their feedback. The poll panel assured them of conducting free and fair elections. The Chief Election Commissioner also held a meeting with the state's Chief Electoral Officer and police nodal officers. On Tuesday, the Election Commission team will meet the district electoral officers, district magistrates, police superintendents, DIG and IG of police to review the arrangements in detail. They will also meet civil society organizations working with the Election Commission to ensure accessible elections. Telangana goes to polls on the 7th of December. The National Human Rights Commission on Monday issued notices to the railways as well as the Punjab government over the Amritsar train accident in which over 60 Dussehra revelers were killed. The commission said it cannot be said to be a sane act by people to sit on railway tracks, but at the same time, the negligence of the district authorities was apparent behind this bizarre and horrific incident. The NHRC sought a detailed report within 4 weeks. The state government is expected to provide all details to the NHRC on disbursement of relief and rehabilitation to the aggrieved families and also information on the status of the treatment to the injured in different hospitals of Amritsar. The railway authorities said that they can't be blamed as they were not informed about the event. The Supreme Court will announce a date to hear the petition seeking review of the Sabarimala verdict on Tuesday. The Travancore Devaswam Board said it has the responsibility to protect the faith of devotees and traditions of the shrine and will take a decision on the legal course to be taken in the Supreme Court, where review petitions have been filed against its recent order. The Sabarimala temple that opened for monthly puja on 17th October for the first time after the apex court order has seen a standoff with angry devotees preventing at least a dozen women in the 10 to 50-year age group from entering the shrine. The temple will close tonight after 5 days monthly puja and will reopen on 17th November for a 3-month-long festival. And staying with news from the Supreme Court, the apex court has given the centre time till 26th October to respond to petitions challenging new amendments in the SC/ST Act. In its order on Monday, the apex court asked the centre to file its reply after the Solicitor General sought time on the issue. In its last hearing on the 7th of September, the apex court said the new amendments passed by Parliament cannot be stayed at this stage. The Parliament on the 9th of August passed the bill to overturn the apex court's March order concerning certain safeguards against the arrest under the SC and ST law. The next hearing on the matter is fixed for the 20th of November. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has called for the need to make universities in the country centres of excellence, highlighting the fact that many top Indian universities have failed to make it to the top of world rankings. He said the onus is on faculty, government and students to ensure that standards are raised. The Vice President was addressing the annual convocation of Lovely Professional University in Phagwara in Punjab. He awarded degrees to graduating students there.
Majority of our colleges have become mere breeding centers for producing students with degree certificates rather than individuals with critical analytical skill and innovative thinking. And most of the time the students passing out of college do not possess employable skills. It is a matter of concern that we are turning out lakhs of students each year from the portals of our colleges with emphasis only on theoretical knowledge. We are merely adding to numbers, not individuals with critical minds. Of course, there are islands of excellence like the IITs, IIMs and IISc, but that is not enough if India has to emerge as a knowledge hub, a major economic power in the coming years. There is a need to completely overhaul our education. We cannot allow the status quo to continue. We need to change the system, and change has to be for good. In the 2019 Times Higher Education is Global Rankings, no Indian university has figured in the top 200 institutions, while IIS is ranked 251 and IIT Indore figures at 351. Other Indian institutions are ranked between 401 and 1001. This is a challenge to all of us, including all of us sitting here, the faculty, the academic community, the student community, and the governments of the day at the center and state. We must all apply our mind, do introspection, and see to it that our universities become centers of excellence. That is the challenge.
And Vice President Venkaiah Naidu has said love of service and nation should be the driving force for the youth in India. Addressing an event in New Delhi, the Vice President said the practice of law is a public service and an officer of the court of law has certain responsibilities towards the public. The Vice President praised the contributions of former Attorney General Fali S. Nariman to the field of jurisprudence while presenting the 19th Lal Bahadur Shastri National Award for Excellence in Public Administration to him. Remembering former Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, the Vice President called him an exemplary leader with legendary humility, courage, determination, integrity, and moral uprightness.
I admire the mission that Lal Bahadur Shastriji Institute of Management has. The very basis of the institute's pragmatic education are deeply embedded moral values and social responsiveness. The Lal Bahadur Shastri National Award for Excellence in Public Administration, instituted by this organization, certainly upholds the vision of Shastriji. I am glad that it values and honors people who have brought about profound transformation in the environment that they exist in.
And 400 odd petrol pumps along the linked CNG dispensing units were shut on Monday in protest against the Delhi government's refusal to reduce VAT on fuel. The Delhi Petrol Dealers Association called for the protest. In a statement, the association said the centre slashed petrol and diesel rates by ₹2.50 a litre each. This was followed by a cut in VAT by various states with the exception of the Delhi government. Announcing the shutdown, the DPDA said customers were flocking to neighbouring Uttar Pradesh and Haryana to buy petrol and diesel where they were cheaper. After the centre cut excise duty by ₹1.50 per litre and asked PSU oil firms to subsidise fuel by ₹1, at least 20 states cut the tax on the two fuels. The petrol pumps will reopen on Tuesday at 6 a.m. Time for a short break, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Do stay with us. Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight. With a view to contain the increasing menace of terrorism in Asia, India and China on Monday signed an agreement on security cooperation in Delhi. Home Minister Rajnath Singh signed the agreement with Chinese Minister of Public Security Zhao Kezi after extensive talks on related issues. This is the first such agreement between the two Asian giants. The agreement is signed as a result of understanding reached between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Xi Jinping in Wuhan earlier this year during an informal summit. The agreement includes cooperation in counter-terrorism, organized crime, drug control and other related issues. The agreement also includes direct mechanism of contact between two home ministers in emergency situations. The Chinese Public Security Minister is on a bilateral visit to India from the 21st to the 25th of this month, during which he will also travel to Mumbai. The visit is considered important with a view to increasing confidence between the two countries. And for more on the story, we're being joined on News Tonight by former Ambassador Shiv Shankar Mukherjee. Very good evening, sir, and thank you for joining us on News Tonight. Sir, this is the first such security pact between
evening.
India and China. How do you think it's going to boost relations between the two Asian giants?
Well, I think the key word is the word you used at the end of the report about confidence. I think this is basically another confidence-building measure between the two countries.
Yes.
That was set in motion after that very important, informal but very important summit between Prime Minister Modi and Xi Jinping of China. If you look at the contents of this agreement, sharing of intelligence, the determination to fight terrorism in Asia, crime, drugs, they are very important things. These are things that are no longer just individual acts of crime, but things that are actually destabilizing nations and tying up huge funds and effort and so on for containing it. However, I think the most important part of this agreement is really a confidence-building measure between China and India aimed at lowering the temperature between the two countries. And I'll explain why very briefly. China at the moment has, does not want some kind of flare-up on the border or any kind of confrontational event like it happened in Doklam with India, simply because it is embroiled in much bigger conflicts. I mean, it is now engaged in a trade war with the United States. And what began as a trade war really has become much more serious after Vice President Pence of the United States actually laid out a whole series of extremely serious charges against China's overall policy in terms of engaging with the world and blaming it for all kinds of things, which really seems to suggest a strategic shift in America's thinking about China, which has been so far that China could eventually be a role-playing partner in the world, even as its power, military and economic power grows. And the US seems to have decided that that is not the case. India, on the other hand, also does not, our government does not want its attention distracted by some kind of, conflict event that bubbles up with China, because we are heading into elections, and we all know what elections mean in India.
So even though it's an internal agreement,
both sides have a stake in lowering the temperature, keeping things calm for the foreseeable future until their own major problems, while they address their major problems. So this is, I think, by far the most important motivation for both countries to come to this kind of agreement. I really don't think, for instance, if you take counterterrorism, all China has to do to curb terrorism is to lean on its great friend Pakistan, which is the source of all the terrorism that we are faced with and much of Asia is faced with, including China itself. So I would take all that with a little bit of pinch of salt. But I think it's very important that both sides, two very, very large countries, which form, I think, together, the relationship between China and India is one of the most significant in Asia. And therefore, the desire to keep the temperature down, to keep the relationship calm, giving them time to address their own problems without adding fuel to the fire, I think it's a good thing.
And so that brings me to the question that, when India proposed the umbrella agreement 3 years ago, which covered all security aspects, China refused to sign the proposal and instead suggested formulation of sector-wise multiple agreements. Why do you think China insisted on multiple sector-wise agreements?
Well, there you are. Yes. Well, there you are. I mean, times change, and with that, policies change. As I've always maintained, foreign policy really is a very dynamic thing. It addresses issues that have evolved sometimes suddenly, sometimes over a long period of time. At that point of time, the Chinese probably felt that simply, shelving this agreement, putting up some kind of objection or suggestion which would, just sideline it would be appropriate for them. Right now, the situation has changed. I mean, China itself is on the one hand, engaged in, a kind of major readjustment of its policies, with the U.S. Taking, U.S. getting much more serious about opposing China's aggressive moves in the world. And vis-a-vis India, they've realized after Doklam that they've realized India's resolve and India's tenacity. We are no pushover either. We are a very large country which is determined to protect its national self-interest. And so a conflict with India is not going to be a small little, thing which they can deal with in their spare time. It's not going to be like that.
Certainly.
So all that, if you put that together, then you get this kind of motivation towards building confidence-building measures to sort of prevent any untoward event which might lead to problems for both sides, definitely China's side as well.
One last question, sir. Do you think the agreement will pave way for an extradition treaty with China in the months to come?
Well, that is difficult to say. Extradition treaties are usually, take a long time really to finalize. How much actual use it will be is a moot point as far as India is concerned. Our fugitives don't really look to China as a safe haven. Before extradition treaties, our tendency has been to sign what's called the MLAT, the Mutual Legal Assistance Treaty, in which both sides commit themselves to helping each other to catch criminals or tackle organized crime and individuals who are accused of being guilty of crimes in their in the countries of their residence. That we will simply have to see. And let me add that even having extradition treaties sometimes has not really helped us.
Yes.
I mean, you look at the case in Malia and Britain. I mean, Britain has, the British courts have come up with condition after condition after condition before they agree to India's request for, even deportation, leave alone extradition. So if it happens, good. If it doesn't happen, I wouldn't lose any sleep over it.
What about the stapled visa issue, sir? Do you think the agreement takes into consideration about the stapled visa issue between India and China, which remains a major bone of contention?
Well, the reports I've read do not talk about any stapled visa. That is a very different kind of question. It's not cooperation in the items that are mentioned in the agreement. The stapled visa was China's declaration, basically, of needling India and trying to assert its claim towards Arunachal Pradesh on one side, Kashmir on the other, which we have completely rejected. But that was their way of, and I would say a very unnecessary, unethical, and a way of sort of again pointing out to India, underlining their claim, their territorial claims, and so on. Which actually was a departure from the agreed upon norms between both countries for taking our dialogue forward. And we, of course, have rejected it completely. So I don't think that has anything to do with this agreement.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on News Tonight once again. Moving on in the bulletin, India and Croatia signed 2 agreements on Monday to strengthen cultural and diplomatic cooperation. The agreements were signed following External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj's meeting with Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister of Croatia in New Delhi. Both leaders discussed cooperation avenues in trade and investment, health, science and technology, education, tourism and culture. India and Japan will increase connectivity beyond the boundaries of the two countries. Accordingly, Japan is expected to invest in projects connecting India with Bhutan, Myanmar and Bangladesh. Contours of this project will be decided at the summit meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Prime Minister Modi will visit Tokyo on the 28th and 29th of this month for the summit. India and Japan are special strategic partners with an annual summit format on the lines with India and Russia. India and Japan share a joint vision of peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific and the world till 2025. Our correspondent Akhilesh Suman spoke to Japan's ambassador in India, Kenji Hiramatsu, on the outcome of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's upcoming visit.
Ambassador, this might be the last summit meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi before 2019 election. So what important outcome do you see during this summit?
As usual, they'll have a very frank exchange of views in very strategic manner. And I hope that some concrete projects, including security and connectivity agenda, will come out after their discussions. I'm hopeful that it will be another very successful meeting.
In economic field, it seems that Japan is a bit hesitant in investing in India. How do you think about it?
I don't agree with that. Japanese companies are very keen to support India's development. Japan is the biggest investors in the manufacturing sector. I know that many Japanese business leaders are very eager to invest in this country and partner with Indian companies.
So how do you think Quad might be discussed in this summit?
I think Quad is a very important mechanism, but Quad is one of the several mechanisms to support our Indo-Pacific vision. So our two prime ministers will discuss how to achieve our same goal. It means that this Indo-Pacific will be open, transparent, and free, and prosperous, and inclusive. So in this way, two prime ministers will discuss how to achieve this common goal.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. So Ambassador is telling that this visit might see something new in India-Japan relationship, and that is the best thing between the two countries. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Television with camera person Dusmanta in Delhi.
And that's it from us in this bulletin. Thanks for your time.